Thank you very much. A little bit about myself, I guess, my background. I grew up on the Waterford coast, a little fishing village called Helvig. My family had been working on the ocean there for multiple generations. In the late 90s, I decided to move my family to the United States. The fishing industry at that stage was absolutely devastated. The European fleet had hammered our coastline and the fish stocks completely collapsed. Stocks collapsed in the 90s. It's not a problem, right? It's, people say like, the fish stocks are being overfished at the moment, but in the 90s, fish stocks completely collapsed around the Irish coast. I opened up my first fishing company there in Gloucester, Massachusetts, shortly after arriving in the US. It was a very successful company. Made a small fortune catching seafood. I opened up another company there shortly after that on the west coast of the US. That company was equally as successful. Opened up a company then in Alaska, opened up several companies through Central and South America, again doing the same thing. About 10 years ago, I started looking at what I was doing, and I guess I had my moment and realized that I was down off of South America, depleting waters down there, doing the very same thing that the European Union did to me in Irish waters. That winter, a couple of months after that, I was up in the Bering Sea. And the problem, again, like we'd see all over the world, was plastic waste. Plastic waste was destroying our ocean, probably killing more marine life at the moment than what commercial fishing does. But again, it's the elephant in the room that people don't speak about. I started looking at different ways different technologies that we could put together to collect plastic waste. And shortly after that, I started working with some research and development company there in Denmark. And I patented two different types of technologies to collect plastic and microplastics that are out of our ocean. We're a very pro-business environmental company. We're very successful at what we do. This year to date, we have over 750,000 tons of plastic pulled from the ocean. Unlike the rest of the environmental world that talk about the problems, we actually go out and we address the problems and we remove plastic waste. We financed everything for the first couple of years. I did it myself. Blew over $10 million doing that. But again, it was something that I saw that was definitely worthwhile. And at the same time, to come up with some solutions regarding the biggest single threat to our planet. Our politicians are very fast to speak about CO2, carbon footprint, and all this nonsense. It's all meaningless for the most part. The single biggest threat to our planet is plastic waste. Plastic inside our ocean that has been going in there for many, many years is breaking down quite quickly. You'll hear all these reports saying that plastic waste in the ocean will last for thousands of years. That's not true. It actually breaks down in a matter of weeks for the most part. As the plastic breaks down, the small particles of plastics, they drift through the ocean. All the different toxins, the chemicals that have been dumped in from our cities and communities there globally attach itself to this plastic. And then once that happens, the plankton, as it rises to the surface in the nighttime to feed, the plankton sees this small particles of plastic as a food source. Once they do that, they latch onto this and they go to eat it. It poisons them and it kills them. Nearly 50% of the plankton at the moment is dead inside our ocean. Again, the biggest producer, of course, of oxygen that we breathe, it comes from the plankton. It doesn't come from rainforests, doesn't come from anything like that. Actually, it comes from our ocean. If we continue on the route that we're on, and again, not being any scaremongering, something that I always speak about, we're in serious trouble. Pollution, without a doubt, is the single biggest threat that we actually face. If we don't do something to address it on a global scale, we certainly have a massive problem. We represent a lot of fishermen all over the world. We also represent farmers, even farm industry there in Ireland. We just took under our arm the Farmers Alliance. It was a breakaway from the IFA. And again, we're just putting together a white paper there at the moment. On our white paper, we push back completely back against the European Union and also push back on what the Irish government is saying. We use a lot of the rhetoric that they come up with when they speak about CO2 levels. Again, it's very easy to pull that apart, but we use that as something again that they seem to understand, or they claim to understand. We use that to come back against them. Or the Irish government announced there lately that they wanted to kill off 200,000 head of cattle in Ireland. to combat climate change. Again, absolutely ludicrous. On our proposal, we're saying if Ireland wants to meet its targets, that it increases the national herd by over 1 million animals. And by doing that, it can actually reduce the global carbon footprint by doing that. The European Union to date is importing tens of thousands of tons of beef there from Brazil. Again, we use the numbers that they are so happy to use. 1 kilo of beef coming out of Brazil is between 750 and 1,050 kilos of CO2 for 1 kilo of beef. A kilo of beef coming out of Ireland, out of an Irish farm, between 16 to 18 kilos of CO2, over 50 times higher. But the way the Irish government measures things, and the way the European Parliament does, they increase the global carbon footprint in countries, again, like Brazil and Argentina. They don't measure the carbon footprint of beef that's actually coming into Ireland. That becomes a Brazilian problem. So Ireland, to reduce Ireland's carbon footprint on paper, they increase pollution all over the world by doing it. It's pretty sad to think that these people have been pushing this narrative, which is to destroy the food industry in Ireland. Food security, of course, should be a national security issue. But in Ireland, that doesn't seem to be the case. The Irish government doesn't seem to care. To shut down our farms and shut down our fisheries is absolutely ludicrous, even for anybody to think about doing that. The environmental world is corrupt to the core. I'm very vocal about that. I always have been vocal about that. When I got involved in this space, I actually thought that everybody was in this to do the right thing, to actually help our planet and fix some of the issues that we actually face. But man, was I wrong. It's all about virtual signaling, and also, I guess, it's extorting money out of corporations by attacking them and saying that they're actually killing our planet. And on that note, please ask any questions you like.
Just in relation to the credit system and the value of the credit system, how difficult is that going to be? Or can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I find that very interesting.
We think it'll be a lot easier than what people realize. There's a lot of weaknesses in the likes of the BlackRock and the Vanguard with ESG investing. There's lots and lots of flaws in what they actually have. The single biggest threat to them is ourselves. We operate in 60 different countries at the moment. We started off I started it off, I guess, there was a small company that was just intending to put a little bit of plastic on the backside of storms in the United States. That was the plan regarding ocean integrity. We became, I guess, pretty much a multinational company at this stage. But the way we operate is very, very different. We look at the poverty around the world. We collect plastic. Everything we do is app-based. Everything is tech-based. IBM tried to buy me out 3 times over the last 2 years. I turned them down every time. I'm not in this for money. I made a fortune already. I made a fortune catching seafood. And when IBM approached me, one thing that really surprised me is why they approached. We built the most unique company the world has ever seen. We built a company again, that has growth 400 to 500% on a yearly basis. So massive growth. And again, what the weaknesses they have, and the weaknesses that we take advantage of. Everything we do, we tick ESG boxes. On the collections of plastic, we looked at the east coast of India, for instance. An average fisherman there earns approximately $60 a month. Again, extreme poverty. One of the big problems they actually have, there is they trying to keep the family together. Usually the girls are sold off at a very, very young age, barely into double digits, because of poverty. So the human trafficking, everything out of these villages is a brutal problem. So what we did was we built this platform with our app on the collections of plastic. We collect plastic and we give indigenous communities, indigenous fishermen, we pay them $200 a ton to collect plastic. We tell them you collect a ton of plastic for 4 weeks, you get $800, versus they were getting $600 before. So we drag these people from extreme poverty and we push them into the middle class. But there's conditions, lots of conditions. The big one is that the kids get an education. Your kids go to school. If your kids don't go to school, we kick them off the program. They ask me on a regular basis, why don't you leave us collect 2 tons of plastic a week? We can earn $400 a week instead of $200 a week. I said, because you have a family to raise. If your kids' grades don't improve in school, we kick you off the program. If your daughters get married under the age of 18 years of age, we kick you off the program. If your daughters get married over the age of 18 years of age and don't get a college education, we kick you off the program. So again, we tick all these boxes. We tick all these boxes that nobody else ticks. And by doing that, of course, corporations love it. We can instead of corporations dumping millions and millions of dollars into environmental organizations and getting nothing in return, we give them something in return. And of course, like, that's very hard for the likes of BlackRock or any of these guys to compete with what we do. ESG investments, of course, like, is something that, again, that I've been very, very vocal about for several years now. But we do see it as a way forward. We do see it as a way that's necessary to, I guess, pull the rug under the system that exists there today. We will launch a platform there we expect on the 14th of March there next year. That platform will be open source, again, completely transparent from start to finish. So show all the moving parts, like, regarding collections of plastic and other matter inside in the ocean, the recycling of it, and see what exactly revenue passes from A to B into the communities and so on and so forth. We do that ourselves, like, there on the crypto platform. We tokenize it all. The reason we do that, like, is not because we love that space, far from it, but we do it that people or the general public can invest in the future of our planet. It's like, for instance, say Caterpillar, fantastic company. Again, they do some amazing work. Caterpillar spends millions and millions of dollars on a yearly basis in this space. So instead of Caterpillar dumping money at the likes of the Greenpeaces and the WWFs and so on and so forth, they invest in the future of our planet. But where the CFO of the likes of Caterpillar can turn back to his shareholders, I guess, the following year and say, hey, we made this investment. And with this investment, instead of burning money, we can show exactly what they got, how many kids they put to school, how many kids they're educating, how much plastic they're eliminating from the ocean, how much they're reducing the global carbon footprint by doing it. Instead of doing it just for themselves, they do it for the bigger picture. But what's unique about this, what the platform we're actually producing, the general public will be able to do the same thing. Anybody will be able to invest in it. Instead of dumping money to charities, that whole model has to be ripped apart. It has to be broken down. And we have to go back and restart where that actually is. If we don't, the likes of BlackRock will achieve what they're trying to achieve with their great reset that they keep speaking about. If they achieve that, God help all of us.
Just asking, is there, like, obviously you're doing great work on the stuff of the ocean, but is that, do you focus on other stuff in regards to the environment, yeah, or no?
Yeah, we do, of course. We're just taking over, I guess, like, there are all the agricultural plastics and stuff like that, and try and get all that recycled there out of Ireland. I don't know what pushback we get from the Irish government, but I'm sure we'll get quite a bit. We offered there 2 years ago to take all the waste and stuff and try to take more of it there from the fishing industry in Ireland, and we got nothing but pushback, I guess, from BIM and the likes. I'm sure we'll see something similar there from the IFA. But again, like, anything to do with waste, anything to do with any type of waste or anything regarding recycling, we're all about how we can create jobs, how we can bolster our economy. We look at Ireland as, again, the country of my birth, the country I'm very, very proud